Okay, we love to really dig into these moments in history that tell us something.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's rewind. We're talking 1975. Saigon has just fallen.
A huge moment. And suddenly, you've got this massive number of people basically meeting a safe place. Fast.
Exactly. It's this huge human story of just exploding practically overnight.
And right into the middle of this incredibly complex situation steps President Ford.
And what he does next is, well, it's pretty remarkable when you look at the context.
It really is.
He makes the call to welcome tens of thousands of South Vietnamese refugees right here to the U.S.
Yeah, tens of thousands. And what's really fascinating or important to remember is this wasn't some easy popular decision.
No.
No, not at all. There was definitely resistance. There were anxieties about immigration already kind of simmering below the surface.
Right. So Ford's making this choice, but it's not like everyone was cheering him on.
Definitely not an echo chamber, no. It was a tough call.
So that's what we want to get into, right? What was the driving force? What made Ford decide that way despite that pushback?
Well, I think one of the key things, something historian Douglas Brinkley really highlighted, is that Ford felt, and this is the phrase, a profound moral obligation.
A profound moral obligation.
A profound moral obligation.
Okay.
That feels significant.
It really does. It gets right to the heart of it, I think.
So what does that actually mean, like in practical terms back then? What's behind that feeling?
Well, if you think about the bigger picture, America's deep involvement in Vietnam for years.
Right, the history there.
Exactly. So when the South Vietnamese government collapsed, it left so many people who had, allied with the U.S., worked alongside them.
Incredibly vulnerable position.
Extremely vulnerable. So there's this powerful sense of responsibility, a feeling, I think, that we couldn't just, turn our backs, abandon them.
It's almost like that idea of having someone's back, but on this huge national, international scale.
Precisely. Now, the material we looked at also touches on how this connects, maybe surprisingly to some, with America's own story. How does that fit in?
Yeah, that's a great point. Think about the very foundation of the U.S., right? It's a nation built in large part by people seeking refuge, looking for a new start, fleeing persecution or war.
True. That narrative is core.
So welcoming these refugees, even when there was opposition, it sort of resonates with that fundamental American idea. It's almost, you could say, baked into the origin story.
Interesting. So Ford was maybe tapping into that deeper ideal, even when louder voices were saying no.
It seems that way. And it also brings in ideas of diversity and compassion, which were also mentioned.
Okay, where do they come in?
Well, it raises that crucial question about, who are we as a nation? What do we stand for?
Right.
Welcoming people from different backgrounds, different experiences, it inherently changes, and many argue, enriches a society. And it's a huge demonstration of compassion on a national level.
Acknowledging the human cost of conflict and actually doing something tangible, offering sanctuary.
Exactly. But this act really put those stated American values to the test.
It's about seeing beyond just, lines on a map and recognizing shared humanity. Okay, going back to that phrase, profound moral obligation. What do you think fueled that specific feeling so strongly for Ford? Why profound?
Well, Brinkley, using that word profound, it suggests it wasn't just like a quick political calculation.
More than strategy.
Yeah, it implies something deeper, a deeply held conviction, maybe rooted in his own personal values, his faith perhaps, his understanding of America's role and responsibility in the world at that time.
So looking back at this whole episode from 1975, what's the kind of the takeaway message for us today, maybe?
I think it's a powerful reminder, really. These decisions about who we welcome, how we respond to global crises, they aren't just policy decisions.
You say something bigger.
They absolutely do. They reflect our core values, or maybe the values we aspire to. They reflect our understanding of who we are as a country. Ford's actions really spotlight that potential for leadership to prioritize, an ethical duty, even when it's hard.
So really, at its heart, Ford's decision, pushing past that anti-immigrant sentiment that was already there, it highlights this sense of profound moral obligation.
Yeah.
An obligation he connected to America's own history, maybe its ideals about diversity, and just a fundamental sense of compassion.
Right. And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it, about how these big historical moments and the choices leaders make within them, how they really do shape and, perhaps more importantly, reveal a nation's identity and its values, especially when faced with these incredibly complex global situations.
Definitely something to reflect on.